Happy Thursday, game day. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network here at Center Ice. I am Nick. Joined me, as always, the face of the franchise. It's Brit. How's it going, Brit?
It is going.
Good.
It's just the usual emotional roller coaster that is our hockey life.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Not a lot of stuff has gone on as far as news since the Rantanen trade. So it sounds like as far as the Avalanche are concerned, I think that may be it until the trade deadline is my guess. I'm hoping that's it.
Yeah, I think the Four Nations there was a little rush to get stuff in before that, and now I think everyone's chilling out a little bit.
Yeah, I know that obviously I think Pittsburgh with Vancouver, there was a trade that happened there. Mm-hmm. Obviously the JT Miller news with the New York Rangers. He's headed back to the Rangers.
Yeah, I was just watching the Rangers game tonight, which is the night before, and he looks good, man. I bet Allie, she can't be too mad about it, can she? Because man, he looks good.
It's difficult because she's not exactly thrilled with JT Miller.
I know he seems like
but he's already made such an instant impact where it's like, gosh,
No. It's like the Nichushkin thing where it's like they really stress you out, but
mm-hmm. Yep, 100%. And then obviously the Flyers and Flames making a trade over the week as well. Kuzmenko headed to Philadelphia, and Farabee, amongst others, headed back to Calgary.
Yeah, like a change of scenery trade, I think, for everyone.
I guess. I thought, what a
it
failed.
It doesn't feel like anyone won or lost, does it?
Not really. It just feels, if anything, it feels like a failed experiment on Calgary's side, where they got him from Vancouver, where he was firing on all cylinders, and then just kind of fizzled out, I guess, and then gonna try it for round two. I'm not sure, but yeah, other than that, I think trades are going to be put on pause as of Sunday.
Yeah.
And then they'll wait for the Four Nations, and then as soon as stuff picks back up on the 22nd or so,
yeah,
then it'll probably be a mad rush is my guess, because I think trade deadline is early March.
Yeah.
So should be fun. Anyway, before we get started, don't forget, everyone, to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, please do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, Brett, diving into the week then. It was a tale of to shut out or to get shut out. 2-1 record for the week. 2 shutouts, 1 get shut out.
Yeah.
and
one of them I don't stick in the mind a lot more than the other 2.
I think I know the exact one you're talking about. So let's not hesitate. Let's kind of dive right into it. So first game, that was back against the Blues. You win this game 5-0.
Absolutely womp them. I mean,
right? Yeah. I mean, it definitely helps when you score 4 of those goals in the first period alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, this is kind of where I'm beginning to really solidify my Martin Necas fandom.
Absolutely.
Already.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously my Drouin fandom has already grown. He had 2 goals in that game. Necas with 1, Viranta with 1, and Makar had a power play 1. So it was all great.
Yes, power play goals, yay!
Yeah, I think
Drouin has been phenomenal. I mean, he has truly made himself almost that like Lehkonen type, where he's kind of moving around, filling in holes, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's been very, very good while he's been available.
And that 1 goal of his highlight reel goal where he bats it midair into the net, and you're just sitting there going like, he's back. Like, this is the Jonathan Drouin of old, like just. Yeah. And we saw even spurts of that last season, like the overtime winner against, I believe it was Pittsburgh, where he took matters into his own hands and skated around everyone and scored. And we were like, okay, that's a flash of the old Jonathan Drouin. But this one, couple of these goals,
Yeah. If he could just stay
he's
healthy,
due.
he would be making as much money as McKinnon.
I genuinely believe that, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's back, man. I think it's not a lot of goals for him on the season. I will say that, but he did miss a bunch.
So many intangibles and so many like assists and playmaking. Like his playmaking ability has really shined lately.
Yeah. So I think, had he been all season healthy, those goals would have been up in the 20s, I'm sure. Like he's definitely less of the liability that first few games of last season, where now it's like he's.
No, I genuinely believe that if
line.
he could find some consistency, he would be a 30 to 40 goal guy. But I don't know if that's in the cards for him. And maybe that'll keep him cheap. We'll see.
We'll have to see what happens, because obviously he only signed the 1-year contract, so obviously that'll be up at the end of this season. But with how he's playing, it would be foolish of Duran to not continue whatever's working. He'll get a pay bump for sure. But you just want to keep him because he's just coming back to his former self. And boy, imagine 2-3 years if we kept him down the road that long and what he'd be able to produce. Like it'd be insane.
And I do think that he has a pretty strong leadership role in that locker room. Like he's a pretty vocal one. He's one that they interview a decent amount. Like I think that he has found like a newfound sense of security and like not outgoingness, but I'd imagine that he's got some of his confidence back to where in Montreal, I think you get to the point where he probably absolutely dreaded talking to the media because it was always miserable for him in Tampa Bay too. So I'm sure that being able to talk to a media that appreciates, respects, and loves him has probably changed his whole well-being.
Oh, definitely has. I mean, it's crazy just what that media, I guess, what am I trying to say? That cloud of media from city to city, what it does to a player. Like it's insane just what can be done. Additionally, so I talked about Natchez and that zone entry goal he had with 4 surrounding him and he just pots it. Like that was beautiful. Like that. If that's what we can expect from Natchez for the rest of the season, I am hooked.
Hell yeah.
I am.
At some point, it's going to stop hitting the post and go in the net. I mean, it's so many posts. Holy crap. But to just, see him so visible and in the play and involved.
It's wonderful.
It's really refreshing.
Yeah.
And hungry. Just really hungry.
It really is. And then additionally, in that game, Joel Kiviranta pots one more goal. I don't believe that one was not an empty netter. So he gets just another goal, a little over halfway through the third period. Watch out, Brit. That's his 11th goal of the season.
He is honestly just like the weirdest specimen in that he will literally disappear playing the same amount of minutes. He will disappear and you will not even know that he exists for 10 to 12 games, and then he just comes back loud. When he's loud, he's so loud.
On fire. Yep.
He's not loud. He's literally invisible. So
it's crazy.
The bottom 6, there's been they've left you wanting more from them prior to and after these games. So it is nice to get. Granted, it wasn't like it was a meaningful goal, but it is nice to get something out of them.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And like I said, that's his 11th. That puts him tied for 5th on the team with overall goals.
Crazy.
He's tied with Val Nichushkin.
That's crazy.
Now, keep in mind, there's perspective that he's missed a bunch of the season. Like, I understand that, but to still keep the same
concerning
pace,
because that shows that we need more people scoring that are not in the top 5, like the top 9. McKinnon cannot do it all.
Well, and here's the real kicker. Speaking of stat lines, so like I said, Kiviranta's tied for 5th with 11. Arturi Lehkonen leads the team in goals.
Wow.
With 21, followed by McKinnon with 20. But
Max boy, he likes doing the passing. It's
that's
crazy.
Nuts. That is absolutely nuts. Obviously, Miko would have had it, but he was at
Right.
25.
That is true. That makes that more easier to swallow because that feels like a lot of missing goals, but I suppose it is missing a lot of goals.
That's exactly right.
Empty net or not.
But yeah, those are the statistics. McKinnon just blowing everyone out of the water with 60 assists as of right now. So
did he tie him in points now, or is McKinnon still up by one? As of like last night, I think they were.
Oh, you mean league wise?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Let's take a look. As far as league points are concerned, statistics. Right now, overall points leaders is Nathan McKinnon with 80, and then Draisaitl has 79. So he is still beating him by one. But yeah, I mean, crazy good game. I mean, all the way around. Obviously, it did seem like
it was that ass kicking we've been waiting for. Granted, not the 10 goals that I keep asking, but we needed to see them thoroughly dominate someone just because we can, and we did. And St. Louis isn't a great team, but they're not nobody. You know, it's
yeah.
Another
noteworthy item: Mackenzie Blackwood shutout. There's the shutout we were looking for.
Yeah.
And guess what? Little spoiler alert. It's not going to be the only one we're talking about tonight.
Yeah.
But just, I mean, overall, granted, 19 saves, so it wasn't like a ton, but that's the thing is like the lower the amount of shots on you.
To finish. Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah, it's difficult because that's not a lot of shots you're seeing. You kind of get comfortable or something like that.
A lot about him to be able to stay in the game, and he did have, I think it was like 2 high danger chances in the third that he had to stop, and that's really telling of a goalie's like mental stability, like kind of their evenness is if you can go from 0 to 100 back to 0 and be able to turn it on literally within a game. Like I know for myself, I play much better when I'm getting 50 shots a game than 10.
Oh, easily, because you're used to the motions, and I'm sure things like that. Or exactly, you're still warmed up. You kind of are able to track stuff better. Whereas if you're not getting exposed to those shots as often, it's harder to find that rhythm again. So no, it was super awesome. That was the shutout we were hoping for and looking for. I think we talked about that even last week. That he's due for one, and he got 2. So this is pretty amazing. Speaking of that second shutout. The Avalanche beat the Flyers 2-0 on Sunday. This one is difficult to explain because the Avalanche were in control the entire time, right? But they only had 2 goals to show for it, which is wild to me because they threw up, hang on, how many shots? Let's see.
It took a long time to get to where they started shooting.
It did. They threw out 32 shots, 2 of them go in, but at this point, I mean that game felt like it should have been like a 4-0, 5-0 type game. But Philadelphia's.
We have Samuel Ersson in net.
They had Ersson. Yep, they had Ersson in net. But just again, he played fantastic, and in fact, I was just at the Flyers game here in Utah. And Ersson played like freaking Vezina Trophy finalist, where it's like, what is happening?
The Flyers and their goaltending situation,
wild. So he was just really tough to crack, but you obviously got 2 by him. But I don't get Philadelphia sometimes, and this was one of those times where it's like, how are we not up 5-0 right now? Because our shots were nice and clean, they were taking shots. But there was the 2 that I want to do, or the one that I want to discuss is the Sam Girard goal. Beautiful breakaway, odd man rush.
God, I love that, man. It is.
Oh, it was pure. It was right past the glove. Oh, it was a great goal. So that's only his 3rd goal of the season, but
I know,
Sam
but
Girard, man, give him his flowers.
His job isn't really scoring goals. I mean, and it's. It's nice when it happens because he has silently been having a really good season. Yeah. Especially when you consider the partners that he's been having to suffer through. His partners have not been playing in any kind of way that's going to make him look better. So he's been carrying much of the lower end of the defense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And so when you have now him playing at a much higher caliber, obviously those trade Gerard chants are fading away quickly. But you do see exactly just what he brings to the table. Yeah, he won't score all these goals, but that doesn't mean he isn't capable. He is a pass first type of player. That much we've known for a long time. But that little overtime goal goal of his a few months ago.
And he's just not
beautiful.
a big dude that's going to have a bomb from the point. That's generally going to make it in. Like he does it. He's not a Mack truck like Devontae's, so. Yeah. When he does, it's usually very pretty. Most of his goals are really beautiful for a defenseman.
The man just skates like he's on butter. Like it's just a thing of beauty. But again, on this one, the man of the hour, Mackenzie Blackwood. Once again, this one was a little bit more difficult. 24 of 24. And some of those, he really kind of had to get some circus dives in there. Like it was pretty crazy how many of those. It's like, if it, and no offense to Georgiev here, but if it were Georgiev and there was like a scrum in the middle of the blue, something tells me the puck would have squirted out from his possession and someone would have just potted an empty one.
He's a cursed man. I'm positive.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but that's kind of the reality of it now. Is Blackwood's making those types of stops, especially those scrums or accidental rebounds or whatever that. Otherwise, wouldn't have been stopped.
Super fast random tangent. Did we talk last week? Grubauer got waived.
We didn't talk about that. No.
And
it was. And I believe the hard part about that was that his mom was on the mom's trip. When it happened.
I mean, is he going to play AHL or they just buy him out?
I think right now it's AHL because they're trying to figure out what's going on because he was really good a couple seasons ago.
Never had faith in him. But was he, or did we make him look good?
Well, there's always that too, so it's kind of a mix of both.
I guess he had a good run with the Caps, but that was in their wasn't it in their championship year that he was the
backup. He was a backup that championship year.
Really,
however, when we did have him, he was a Vezina finalist. Keep in mind.
Yeah.
So I know it might not mean much, but
the second I did, he absolutely bombed.
But it just seems like one of those classic. The Avalanche made him look like a god until he went somewhere else, and then it made him look like a man again. I mean, you look at Darcy Kemper; he's already 2 teams removed. It's
everyone but Varley. Varley's still doing it, man.
There you go. But yeah, back to this game. Great. I mean, you got the shutout. You did enough, but it just felt like it didn't need to be that type of a score.
And Nations was so good that I think that even if we had lost, we still would have left this game feeling pretty good. I think was this the game that he hit a ton of so many posts.
I'm pretty sure he has hit at least 2 a game. That's how close he is to scoring every game.
Mac looks like reinvigorated. He seems to be extra jazzed not since Rantanen leaving, but since Nature's joining him on the line. So
I've even seen him talking with him on the bench, and he even cracked a smile or two. That's impressive.
Yeah, he seems to really not be intimidated by Mac, which is incredible. That's impressive, but it seems like he fits in there absolutely perfect. And his speed, it's just, I don't know, fits like a glove.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Just the Nature's effect, I guess, as it were, that people are now starting to kind of get a little hitch in their giddy up. They're starting to play with a little more, quickness and urgency, and it
pushes Mac a little bit more too.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, okay, then the last game we're going to talk about, the dud of all of them, which I thought was going to be more on the easy side, considering all the drama that was happening, is in
the
Vancouver.
midst of full-blown meltdown, trading superstars.
I thought for sure that this was going to be, you skate away, probably not a shutout, but you at least go get the win, and they drop a goose egg. I don't know what happened.
Demko turns back into Demko of old, not the relentlessly injured.
Stanley Cup Finals type Demko
Yeah.
where game 7, everything's on the line. And he just, I
Had
don't
a
know.
couple of absolutely like highlight reel saves. So that is something to take into consideration, but you gotta break him. Like it's the game you're playing.
Yep. Goal scored by Jake DeBrusk, Brock Besser, and Drew O'Connor. So
big story of the game, Miles Wood. Is he trying to play himself into being sent down or what?
Who knows? This game was like a half and half, where it's like half the team was trying, like those Winnipeg games where you did everything right but just couldn't crack the goalie.
Yeah.
And the other half was playing like those games like against Chicago or Minnesota, where it's like, did you even remember there was a game today? Like,
Ross
what's
Colton,
going on?
not good. Honestly, other than the top line, I mean, it's I don't know. We need more from the bottom 6. Like, and for the defense, did Manson leave? Is he day-to-day now or what? Like, is that
here's the follow-up question to that is
another top pairing defenseman. That's the deadline priority. It has to be.
Potentially. Because my retort question was going to be, are you even going to notice if he was missing?
I don't know.
Because right now Manson's play has gone down.
It's a liability, and it's really unfortunate.
He's at that point where, and we talked about this even last season, where he has these moments of boom, he's here, and then not only is he not there, he's there, but in a bad way, you know.
Yes, I just wish that we could find some middle ground with him for any extended period of time. It seems like he just peaked throughout the Stanley Cup run and really struggled since.
Yeah.
And I love him. He is literally the epitome of what I want to love in a defenseman. The way that he creates breakaways for himself, his ability to actually fight and be stupid tough, and I mean everything about him, but it just seems like that's all missing the last 2 years.
It does. And my favorite soundbite ever was the overtime winner against St. Louis, where he shot it from the blue line and his voice cracks, and you know. Yeah, my favorite soundbite from the Avs, like in history, besides Gabe Landeskog's little shout at Todd McClellan during the outdoor game.
Well, or Josh Manson's got another top one when he says they get free chicken sandwiches here or something like that.
The chicken sandwich one too. Yeah, that was a good one. That one's a good one. So yeah, it's no hate for the guy, but it's just, dude, you gotta play. Like, you gotta show up.
Especially when it's really like it's making everyone around him worse. I mean, you know, Sammy G can't play his style with having a liability next to him. And Malinsky has really also been bad. So it just feels like we kind of just have like an anchor tied on our defense. And I forgot to write it down. Both Makar, I think Taze was at like 33 minutes in that game.
Probably
was over 30. Malinsky played 13. So we're leaning way too hard on the big boys because
yikes,
we can't trust. I mean, Malinsky just, God, I don't know what happened. I wish you would figure it out, but I'm running out of minutes.
Keaton Middleton had 10 for himself, but yeah, Taves 33, Makar 30. Sam Girard was the next highest with almost 20.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't play more, but probably just a matter of not having someone else to play with him for more. Like, it just Keaton Middleton, why are we still doing this?
I don't know. He's I will say this, he has the, how do I put this? He wants to do good.
Right.
Yeah, he's got that.
I want to be.
We all want him to do good, but there's just those couple of times where it's like he just stumbles over himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say he's bad, like, because there's a couple times where he does all right. He's got a lot of the Curtis McDermott in him.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Yep, very reminiscent of that, and he's very likable, very sweet. But
yeah.
I feel like we have a lot better options hanging out in the Eagles, or at least, if not better, worth trying out.
Yeah. Because who's the piece we're missing right there? Is that DeHaan? Is that typically who would be in that spot?
Yeah. Is he hurt or are we just scratching him?
I thought he was hurt.
He had some pretty gnarly games.
He had a couple where he took some hits, but I don't unless it flew under the radar. But he would have been the guy in the spot was DeHaan. So,
and from what I understand, management was very loudly upset with Miles Wood. Just really, really bad choices in this game. Very loudly upset with him. And he's got kind of that weird contract. It really hurts because I love Miles Wood. I think he is one of the most endearing people in the NHL, but the way he played yesterday is so unbelievably unacceptable. Taking 4 minutes worth of minors in the offensive zone when you're down by 1 in the third period. I don't know. It feels like he's maybe lost a step because one of those was like a holding because he couldn't catch up to somebody. And it's like, dude,
you're like the fastest guy on the team.
Yeah, and he was caught late on a shift, but like even with my squirts, I always say the second you stop moving your feet and reaching, that's when you're going to get a penalty, and that's a lazy, no excuse penalty. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hopefully he figures it out and gets it turned around. I understand coming back from injury, you're not going to get hot start right away unless you're a superstar. But there's comes a time where it's like, okay, you've had a few games under your belt. It's time to be right back to where you were, because that's hockey. You know, it's like you don't just gingerly exercise your minutes. You're thrown back into what you were doing. Like that's it. Unless you get the Steven Stamkos treatment, but that's again.
And then Ross Colton, like, buddy.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? First of all, Logan O'Connor can handle himself. Logan O'Connor is just as tough as anyone.
He'll be just fine.
Yeah, we
don't worry about him.
Somebody so hard on the face that we break a stick. Like that's one of those like 2 inches in the wrong direction, and you're facing a 10-game suspension. Like I don't like seeing the team get this frazzled. You know what I mean? Especially when the game's not out of control. It's not out of hand. Vancouver wasn't being particularly dirty. They didn't even have Quinn Hughes.
That was the hard part.
That is absolutely insane.
That was the hard part about all this, was because he was missing. They had, like I talked about, all this locker room drama. It's like you should have been able to crank out at least 2 of these goals and minimum gone to overtime.
And especially swallow that first goal and get over it. It was a total fluke. Mackenzie Blackwood makes the save, and DeBrusk like apparently is like practicing batting with drumsticks in his free time. Like I don't understand how a person shake it off. Like, good God, get over it and shoot the puck.
Yep. We've come back from worse and with less time. So
and then it's just demoralizing because we've had this all-world penalty kill, and here we go. Let's ruin that right now. Like it's a good time to, take away that little good piece of our identity.
No kidding. But I don't know. Hopefully this isn't one of those, kind of like with what you said, where you're just kind of down in the dumps and you start this slump of terrible play. Because
we need to finish these last 2 games, especially when you consider Calgary is in the same race as us.
Exactly. So I guess without further ado, let's kind of jump into that.
Yeah.
So these upcoming games, there's only 2 that we're going to talk about, and then you're on to the All-Star, to the 4 Nations Faceoff. So this is, especially being on the road trip, you got to make sure that this isn't a little negative momentum swing, right?
Exactly. I mean, it's like we were so high when we went into the All-Star game last year and still came back slow. So like going in low feels like, I don't know. Maybe it's awful game plan.
It's a make or break type of time, especially for those in the hunt for playoff spots or top 3 in the conference or division, things like that. Like this is going to be a pretty big couple of games, despite the fact that I'm sure everyone on those teams is going to be like, come on, just get it over with. Just don't get hurt. Don't get hurt. Exactly. But again, these are points up on the board that will help you in the end. And we talked
We
about this
are
at the
like,
beginning of the season.
we're like
Those
one
early games
taking
mean
Minnesota.
everything.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, they do. These, especially when we get to the end of the season, as the regular season comes to a close, we're going to look back at these games and be even more pissed, like we were last year about the Blackhawks games and were Coyotes games. They
Coyotes
Utah
were
last
another
year.
one. Yep.
Yeah, and we look back at them and thought, oh my god, if we could have won 3 of the 6 that we lost to the shitty teams. Calgary is high right now. They are really feeling themselves. Dustin Wolf, he's like Vesna quality. The bet on him,
That's crazy.
pretty good.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I thought that he was too young and it was going to be a mistake, but it's not. Kadri is in proper form. They are really burning on all cylinders right now, so we have to show up.
Yeah, you have
and
to.
Our bottom lines have to show up. We have to get something out of them, and we need to not have to work the shit out of Makar and Taze.
Yeah, because 33 minutes, I understand they can handle that. I get that. They have that type of stamina, but it's not necessary. That's the hard part about this.
He's not young. He's
not. If Manson were playing his game, if Gerard just continued to play the way he's playing, you could take some of those minutes off. Problem is, you're not scoring often enough or have a lead early enough where you can facilitate that type of ice time. So that's kind of the hard part, right? So that's kind of going to be my key to the game for this Calgary game. Let me make sure I got the right time. So that's here just in a few minutes, as you guys are watching it. 7 o'clock puck drop today, the 6th. The key to the game on that one is to understand that this is the wild card battle right here. We're in wild card 1. Calgary's in wild card 2, right?
We're also, Minnesota is like 1 point above us. If we win tomorrow and Minnesota loses, I believe we move above Minnesota.
Potentially, they're 2 points above us, so we would be tied. But I want to say
we will be.
We own a tiebreaker.
Okay.
I don't know, but I want to say we do. Maybe not, but we'll still be the same amount of points. That's the important part. But Calgary is just 5 points behind you. Yeah.
If we lose, we move to 8th in the Western Division or the Western Conference. Excuse me. 8th.
Yeah. That's the key, right? Is to understand this is, even though they're not in your division, this is a 4-point game type of game because they are chasing you, and it's at this point where it's like you are still good enough to be winning. You're not good enough to make headway. Calgary is good enough to make headway because right now the 3 top Pacific teams are up and down, whereas Calgary's just a constant, so that's going to be their kind of, licking their chops moment, is to realize like, hey, that's extra points we could have toward the end of the season, that if it came right down to the wire, Calgary could, if they win this game, that could be the thing they hang their hat on and say like, hey, since we won that game, there's a tiebreaker, or there's the reason they got launched ahead, or something like that.
Yep.
So that's my key to the game for this game here against Calgary. You gotta ignore what happened last game. Think about what happened 2 games and 3 games ago. Bring that type of energy back. It's not easy playing in Calgary. It's a very loud stadium. It's a very weirdly lit stadium. It is a weird stadium in general, but that doesn't mean the fact that it is difficult to play in, right? And I'm sure this will be one of those marquee games where everybody is going to want to see how Wolf plays, how Kadri plays, how Nations plays. He's only played a handful of games at home, so he should be more comfortable on the road, I think. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, but you gotta play a full 60 minutes, play with urgency, all that good stuff. Okay, next game, that's against the Oilers, so just the neighbors to the north there. That's going to be tomorrow, Friday, as you guys are watching this, 7 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop. and this is the last game before the Four Nations Faceoff break. Same thing, right? Oilers right now are nasty good as usual from, for these last few seasons, but they're not like last year where they were just unbeatable.
Yeah,
Minus
right.
the Panthers who could do that,
For
right?
sure.
They have their flaws, right? And we've played them already. We know what those flaws are. I'm going to keep the same keys to the game like we did the last time when they were in Denver. And that's going to be taking care of Draisaitl and to the lesser extent, McDavid. Because Draisaitl is the one chasing.
Losing Rantanen out on Draisaitl because in the end, it's Draisaitl's fault. So hopefully they keep that in mind.
Exactly.
That's how my brain is functioning anyway.
There you go. But again, Draisaitl is the guy chasing McKinnon in points, right? It's McKinnon, then it's Draisaitl. You need to, I don't want to say negatively impact because that makes it sound like I want him to get injured. That's not what I mean. You have to control him. You have to control McDavid. Those two are the scoring machines. Everyone else is right at this moment in time kind of acting like a lesser side piece, riding coattails, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, they're literally playing just like us.
Yeah, you take care of those two, you take care of the team. That's my philosophy.
I believe Picard has been playing a lot of their games, and there's no excuse to not put goals up on him. None.
Yeah. I think as of right now, the Oilers and Blackhawks are tied. At the time of this recording, they just started the third period. Oilers are looking down, right? And that's another thing is right now they're kind of on this downward swoop, as it were, of games where they're either needing to go to overtime, they're losing in the last second, things like that. So it's like take advantage of that kind of momentum and, try to make something out of it. So that's going to be my key to the game. But yeah, that's it. Then it's the Four Nations Faceoff, which I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I mean, I think it's going to be interesting. I almost think they should have just made it just U.S. versus Canada, just playing multiple games, because I think that's really what which watch now, like Finland will win. But I'm excited to see some players revived, and I mean, we'll talk more about it later. We don't really need to talk about it now. We'll have plenty of time to talk during the break, but hopefully these guys are excited and I don't know, just feeling it before they go to break and not. Yeah. I just don't want to have two flat games.
It sure seems like everyone's excited because, like, you even heard players kind of like, "Man, I wish I could get a spot on there." Or I feel like
Dowdy came back and
Dowdy, yeah, case in point, right there. He was like really gung ho for wanting to be on the team and stuff like that. But again, ultimately, they're stacked rosters, all of them. I mean, it's incredible to see who does what, and. It's going to be fun. Allie and I, we purchased a couple of jerseys.
Oh God, it's such a good looking jersey. The
they're
USA.
Great. They're great. So I got a Sidney Crosby Canada one, and it looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal. I did this for a couple reasons. One, I was actually just told Allie to surprise me because I couldn't make the choice myself. And the other one, I'm trying to take a page out of your book, Brit, and to manifest destiny.
It's pretty annoying. I looked through the website and they didn't have a Quinn or a Hughes jerseys.
Yeah. Well, what was also strange is they didn't have a Makar jersey. And he's one of the alternates.
Were really weird.
Yeah, because that would have been the easy choice. I would have done McKinnon or Makar, with Makar being the preference because of the A patch, but. Yeah. They didn't have it, so I couldn't make a choice, and I couldn't.
I didn't even think about Rantanen being on there. That is, and the Kachuk one, I feel like Kachuk has a really divided crowd of haters and lovers, and there's a lot more guys that they could have sold more jerseys to simply because
I think you're right.
So
I think you're right.
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, either way, it's going to be pretty fun. I'm excited for it. I've blocked out time to make sure I watch them. There's going to be a couple on President's Day. So one of them's a matinee. I think and my hope is that this becomes I don't want to say the norm, because obviously it's new, but you have the Olympics coming up the following season, which the NHL I believe has said they're going to let their players play in the Olympics. So hopefully by the time in 2020, what would it be, 7? More nations can participate. So instead of just 4 nations, maybe it's 6 or 8,
Yeah.
if
Did
there's
you
enough
see
players.
double IHF, whatever their thing is, they declined allowing Russia
Yeah.
to
Russia,
entertain
that's the
citizens.
big country, is Russia, because if you did, it'd be Russia and I think Czechia that would
Yeah,
be included, because
which is
they have enough to
unfortunate
fill out a
because
roster.
there's a lot of very elite Russians within the NHL. It is honestly kind of a shame that they're excluded from a lot of stuff, but
It is, but that's the way of the world politics, which obviously
Mhm.
we won't talk about. But hopefully by then everything is resolved and Team Russia can participate, because again, that'd be another big cog in the wheel. So instead of just having your typical U.S. versus Canada marquee matchup, throw Russia in there, and Czech
Another really
Czech
important
Republic.
factor in this is I really feel like this is probably their internal deadline to make a decision on Landy. Don't you?
I do.
Because I was told, I heard or read or something that they did have a decided period of time, which
Mhm.
this feels like it would be it. And I haven't heard an update in a long time.
Yeah, which I don't know if in this case no news is good news, but it
I
could
don't
be,
know. Yeah. They
but
might be sick of every time they say something, it gets overanalyzed, but
I think that's probably accurate. But
I don't know.
either way, I mean, it should be really good. Obviously, I know, like I just said, I got a Team Canada jersey, but I am pulling for the U.S. Don't get that mixed up.
Good looking jersey is a good looking jersey.
And that's the thing
The
is,
Sweden jersey is my favorite jersey of all time. They
and
don't need
that's what Allie got, was she got a Zibanejad Sweden jersey,
my
and boy
favorite.
howdy, the detailing on that thing is outrageous.
It's just so perfectly simple that they honestly never have to design a new jersey for the rest of time. Sweden.
They really shouldn't. Yeah, it's a timeless one. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm hoping it gets a lot more attention than what people are leading on, because from what it sounds like arenas haven't even been sold out and nobody wants to go. And
tickets are like $1,500. So
that's
maybe
also
read the
problem.
room, or read the economical room that we're all in here.
Yep. But I think it'll be fine as far as like sold outs or whatever, because it's going to be, I think, competitive, because you got your best of the best, and none of them want to look like clowns.
I would love the chance to watch all of the people that I would go to a game of teams that I don't care for just to watch this guy play. Like where you pinpoint, I want to watch the Avs play the Oilers so I can see McDavid play. You literally get to see all of those guys at the same time.
Yeah. And it's not going to be like in your typical all-star game where it's a 3-on-3 and they just kind of meander around half speed and the goalies don't really try. And
they've got their country on their chest. It matters.
They have nation representation, as it were. Yeah. So, should be fun. Other than that, I mean, that's probably going to wrap up the episode. We'll kind of get out of your guys' hair so you can go on and watch the Avs play the Flames. Britt, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add.
No, I will be in the midst of absolute chaos at the Fargo International, the Squirt International. So thousands and thousands of children trading pins and on Twitter.
There you go.
Pray for me.
Little Fargo. Yeah, we'll keep you in our thoughts and prayers with all those kids probably getting pulling at your hair and whatever it is those kids
sent
do
us a memo about coaches drinking, about like zero.
There you
go. They definitely had something.
You
in their
may
mind.
go against that thought here in a second, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, good deal. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us on this episode of the Cluster Puck Podcast. Again, if you like what you saw, we ask that you please like and subscribe, follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, you can do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, let's close out this little road trip with 2 wins, go into the Four Nations break with a couple of those W's in our pocket, good momentum swing, and and let's enjoy the Four Nations Face-Off. I think this will be a really fun event that hopefully is widely successful, and hopefully they use it in the future. So anyways, have a great weekend. And as always, go Avs, go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might